On January 27, 2025, Nvidia lost $589 billion in a single day, the biggest market cap loss for a single stock ever. It was all because of DeepSeek, a side project with fewer than 200 employees that matched OpenAI's best model at a fraction of the cost. But here's the part that should have been impossible. The US had already banned the chips China needed to build it. So DeepSeek made do with what they had left. And what they built made Silicon Valley lose their minds. When DeepSeek launched, Mark Andreessen, a venture capital titan, called it AI's Sputnik moment, suggesting the US had suddenly lost its lead in the AI race. Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, admitted the model was impressive and said it was legit invigorating to have a new competitor. But while the engineers were invigorated, the investors were having a $589 billion panic attack. For 2 years, Wall Street's thesis was simple: AI meant Nvidia, because AI only runs on Nvidia hardware. Microsoft, Meta, and Google weren't just buying chips, they were in a $200 billion arms race. Nvidia's stock had risen over 800% in 2 years. Betting against Nvidia wasn't just risky, it was financial suicide. Then in late January 2025, a Chinese AI model appeared on the US App Store, for free. It could reportedly match ChatGPT across math, coding, and reasoning. But it was the receipt that sent shockwaves through the valley. According to its creators, the whole thing cost only $5.5 million to train. OpenAI's GPT-4, $78 million. Google's Gemini Ultra, $191 million. DeepSeek didn't just build a competitor, they built one for pennies on the dollar. By Monday morning, January 27, 2025, every fund manager on Wall Street was wide awake. When the opening bell rang, the bloodbath began. Nvidia closed down nearly 17%. In a single afternoon, $589 billion of value was erased. But the selling wasn't just panic, it was a realization. Investors were asking one terrifying question. If a tiny lab in China could match OpenAI for just $5.5 million, what were the big tech giants actually paying for? Jefferies, one of the most influential investment banks on Wall Street, stated that DeepSeek had just punctured the CapEx euphoria. In plain English, the days of winning by outspending were over. For 2 years, the equation was simple. Bigger models equals more chips equals more profits. DeepSeek proved it wrong. DeepSeek's founder, Liang Wenfeng, had been building machine learning algorithms since the 2008 crash. But while other funds were obsessed with quarterly returns, Liang was obsessed with something else entirely: computing power. The Financial Times once quoted a partner who described Liang as a very nerdy guy with a terrible hairstyle, talking about building a 10,000 chip cluster to train his own models. Someone the industry simply didn't take seriously. He was the only person in the room who understood that in the coming AI war, chips wouldn't just be hardware. They would be the ultimate currency. On October 7, 2022, Washington moved. Sweeping export controls dropped, effectively banning Nvidia's flagship H100 chips from China. Nvidia's response was a workaround. The H800, a chip deliberately hobbled to fall just below the ban's threshold. China's labs scrambled to buy every H800 they could find. Then Washington banned those too. One analyst at CSIS described the whole strategy as actively strangling large segments of the Chinese technology industry. Strangling with an intent to kill. The official reason was military security. The real reason, a senior US official put plainly: we're a couple years ahead of China. No way are we going to let them catch up. DeepSeek's engineers went quiet and got to work. They went so deep into the hardware that one analyst at Stratechery called it an insane level of optimization. Liang Wenfeng didn't sugarcoat the situation. Money has never been the problem for us. Bans on advanced chips are the problem. The ban didn't slow them down. It turned them into the most efficient AI engineers in the world. January 20th, 2025. Donald Trump is inaugurated as the 47th President of the United States. The same day, DeepSeek drops R1. Open weights, MIT license, free for anyone on Earth to use, build on, deploy commercially. It matched OpenAI's flagship reasoning model across math, coding, and logic, at roughly 27 times cheaper to run via API. Within days, it hit #1 on the Apple App Store, knocking ChatGPT off the top spot. President Donald Trump has gone on the record saying, "The release of DeepSeek AI from a Chinese company should be a wake-up call for our industries that we need to be laser-focused on competing." Fast forward to April 24th, 2026. More than a year after R1 stunned the world, DeepSeek launches V4. The largest open weights model in history, running 7 to 9 times cheaper than ChatGPT. V4's debut is unlikely to have the same market impact as R1, because traders have already priced in the reality that Chinese AI is competitive and cheaper to use. But the real story wasn't the model. It was what ran it. V4 is DeepSeek's first model optimized for domestic Chinese chips, specifically Huawei's Ascend 950 series. Huawei's Ascend chips are the country's best homegrown alternative to Nvidia, and supporting DeepSeek V4 shows that top Chinese AI models can now run on Chinese hardware. Whether they've fully cut ties with Nvidia is still disputed. What isn't, China is building the infrastructure to not need them. Bill Gates said it plainly in a CNN interview. The bans had forced China to go full speed ahead. "We made clear to them that they needed to make their own chips," he said. And they're making great progress on doing that. 8 days before V4 launched, Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang said on a recent podcast that if Chinese artificial intelligence startup DeepSeek optimized its new models on chips from Huawei Technologies, it would be a horrible outcome for the US. 8 days later, it did.